think. Through this hearing, of course, this hearing is called in relation to the following bill, Senate Bill 1869, filed by this representation, Senate Bill number 1875, filed by Senator Grace Poe, and of course, House Bill number 5236, which for the information of everyone, has been approved on third reading at the lower house. Through this hearing, we hope to answer three critical questions. First, why do we need to change or modify the ranks for our PNP personnel, both PCOs and PNCOs? Second, would this measure not have an impact or distortion of ranks and or diminution of benefits under Joint Circular number 1, which will take effect on January 1, 2019. This was defended on the floor by Senator Nasan, being the chairman of the Committee on Defense and Security. Joint Circular number 1 of Congress increases the base pay of uniformed personnel, both of the PNP and PNP. Mamaya makikita natin medyo may confusion. And lastly, definitely not the last, anong effect nito do sa constitutional provision on the civilian character of the police? Kasi i-modify natin yung ranks parang similar do sa mga military ranks. So with that, I'd like to welcome our resource speakers or resource persons this morning, representing OIC DILG Secretary and Polcom Chairman Ed Año, with Undersecretary Bernardo Florese Jr. Good morning, sir. And representing Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara, we're joined today by Assistant Secretary Sergio Yap the Second, and State Counsel Ruben Luna, Alden Reuben Luna. We also welcome the representative from Napolcom, your Commissioner Sinaida Brosas, ma'am. Good morning. Of course, from the PNP, we have Police Director Cascolan. Congratulations sa promotion sa position, but not yet in rank, no? Police Director Cubos, the PNP, Police Chief Superintendent Makatlang, Chief Superintendent Masigon, and then the Deputy Director HRDD Rojas, Police Chief Superintendent Rojas, and all those at the back, welcome to the Senate. Now first question, why do we need to modify the ranks of the PNP personnel?
Mr. Chair, before I answer the question, may I greet everybody, sir, a good morning to Senator Gregorio Nasan, sir. Good morning, sir. And of course to our Honorable Chair. If I may, sir, read the opening statement first of the Chief PNP, which was given to me, with your approval, sir. To the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, and to the Honorable Senator Gregorio Nasan II, present today, magandang umaga po. The Philippine National Police expresses its sincere gratitude to the committee chairman, Honorable Senator Panfilo M. Lacson, for scheduling the deliberation of these two PNP priority bills. We particularly thank you, Your Honor, for graciously acceding to sponsor Senate Bill 1869. Likewise, the PNP thanks Honorable Senator Grace L. Poe, the author of Senate Bill 1875, for continuously supporting the police. We are pleased to inform this august body that the counterpart House Bill 5236 was also approved on its third reading in Congress. The PNP strongly supports immediate passage of Senate Bills 1869 and 1875 into law that will allow the police to use the more familiar military-sounding ranks and forego with the confusing civilian rank nomenclatures. For the past 20 years, the PNP had been diligently and persistently enlightening the public regarding the correct police ranks as provided by law. Even fellow civil servants in the government sometimes get confused with the PNP rank classification. The use of the military-sounding ranks will be advantageous to both the PNP and the community, and may we please consider the following. Number one, on the part of the PNP, the amendment will result in clearer comparison between police and military ranks. In the field, similarity between PNP ranks and counterpart AFP ranks will promote interoperability, between police officers and equivalent military officers, which in turn could enhance joint internal security operations, counter-terrorism operations, and operations against other threats to national security. Two, as for the community, if psychological studies are to be believed that familiar names are judged more positively than those difficult to recall, then PNP ranks that can be easily recalled will promote familiarity of the common tao with the policemen of the street and thus contribute in our effort to narrow the gap between the police and the populace. Number three, further amending PNP ranks to make it closely resemble military ranks used by other foreign police forces will make our rank classification easier to compare with our counterpart police officers, not only in the ASEAN, but also with the police forces of other countries. The PNP is not oblivious to the constitutional intent of a civilian police, which is why, despite our bid to amend the ranks to make it closely resemble military ranks, the essence of a civilian police, as articulated during the Constitutional Commission deliberation, will continue to be safeguarded. For instance, separation of the police force from the military structure will be maintained. The police will not be returned under the military control, as this was the setup sought to be corrected by Constitution. Thus, existing institutional arrangements that ensure the separation of the PNP from the AFP will not be disturbed. Number two, military personnel shall continue to be prohibited from occupying positions in the police force. Positions both in the PNP and the National Police Commission will remain to be occupied by uniformed PNP personnel and civilians, respectively. The police will remain to be under civilian authority, with a DILG secretary acting as ex officio chairman of the National Police Commission. Number three, more importantly, the mission-oriented outlook of the military command will not replace the existing police-community relations doctrine of the PNP, which will remain to adopt a service-oriented outlook. There will be no diminution of community participation in the administration and, to a limited extent, in the control of the police. Local chief executives shall remain to exercise their powers over local police forces. The constitutional intent of a civilian police is to integrate it into society and remedy its isolation from the citizenry, and to imbibe civilian values into the police service by inculcating community and service-oriented mentality upon members of the police force. This constitutional intent, Your Honors, may still be effectively achieved even with the PNP. Marami pong salamat.
Before we tackle the second question, yung possible diminution sa salary scale, let's hear from the DOJ so we can dispense with your presence. Yung constitutional challenge, possible constitutional challenge do sa civilian character ng PNP. Kasi when we use similar military ranks, baka merong impact. Yun lang gusto namin marinig sa inyo.
Mr. Chair, Senator Lacson, good morning. Senator Gregorio Nasan, Vice Chairman. The Department of Justice submitted our legal opinion as to this matter, dated August 10, 2018, duly signed by Undersecretary Emilien Aglipay Villar. So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would...
And we confirm having received the same, the legal opinion. Thank you. Please proceed.
Upon review, the Department of Justice finds no clear and categorical infringement of the Constitution. The proposed amendment is consistent with the constitutional mandate and duty of the Department of the Government of serving and protecting the people, as the modification merely seeks to simplify the rank classification of uniformed personnel in the Philippine National Police by patterning the same with its military equivalent, without altering their established functions and designations. This, in turn, effectively eliminates the confusion as regards the proper hierarchy of ranks within the PNP, insofar as the public is concerned. Furthermore, as pointed out in the explanatory note of Senate Bill number 1869, it simply seeks to promote interoperability between police officers and equivalent military officers in the field, as it will further enhance clarity in the rank association and chain of command. Finally, the proposed amendment does not change the civilian character of the National Police Force, as provided under Section 6, Article 16 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. The adoption of the military equivalent rank does not imply transfer of control over the PNP from civilian authority to the military. The PNP remains to be civilian in character, administered and controlled by the National Police Commission under the Department of Interior and Local Government. To reiterate, the Department of Justice fully supports the aforementioned bills, the subject bills, and interposes no objection to the same. The Department finds the provisions of the bills consistent with the Constitution, other relevant laws, and in harmony with the legislative intent it wishes to achieve. That is all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Asek Yap. Anyway, we'll proceed to some more contentious or more complicated, I would say, issue. Yung possible distortion do sa yung effect doon sa Joint Circular number 1, yung increase in pay and salaries, di ba, ng armed forces. I have here a copy of Republic Act 9365, amending Republic Act 8220. Ito yung creation, sa armed forces ito creation of the ranks of First Chief Master Sergeant, First Master Chief Petty Officer in the enlisted ranks of the armed forces, sa Navy yun, nag-create pa rin ng Chief Master Sergeant, First Chief Master Sergeant, Chief Master Sergeant, at saka Master Sergeant, di ba? I suppose, yung First Chief Master Sergeant, ito yung Sergeant Major ng buong Armed Forces of the Philippines. Yung Chief Master Sergeant, ito yung Sergeant Major ng mga major services. And then yung Master Sergeant, ito yung Ordinary Master Sergeant. Now, there's no equivalent rank sa PNP. And there are equivalent increases in their salaries under Joint Circular number 1. So, meron bang equivalent na Sergeant Major sa PNP? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Meron, sir. So, how do you classify the rank?
Sir,
SPO4 pa rin.
Senior Police Officer 4, but the most senior Master Sergeant is Senior CESPO, Chief Executive Senior Police Officer. CESPO kung tawagin namin po.
It is not reflected do sa Joint Circular number 1. Walang difference ng salary between the SPO4, the ordinary SPO4,
Yes, sir.
and the senior
Executive Police
SPO4,
officer.
whatever
Yes, sir.
name you call it, So walang differential walang incremental increase, di ba? And there are two other ranks in the AFP na merong diferensya sa salary increase. So how do we address that? I suppose we have to create additional ranks para hindi na tayo magpapasa ng iba pang batas. Ito yung table Tingnan niyo yun. We also need the assistance or the opinion of DOJ kasi may effect din ito. Of course, DBM. Sana kung...
DBM yan.
Merong impact yan sa salary. If we create, say, a first senior police officer 4, of course, wala naman tayong equivalent to sa mga major services because the PNP itself is one major service na wala namang walang equivalent component sa PNP yung nasa armed forces kasi there are three major service commands in the AFP. So how do we resolve that? And then yung corporal, madidistort yung rango niya kasi ang equivalent niya sa AFP, Master Sergeant, Staff Sergeant. Eh wala naman kayo Staff Sergeant. Look, iyan yung sa second page. Hindi, doon sa, wala ba? Yung second, yan. Yan. So let's crack our heads and find out how we should resolve this issue. Napolcom, can we hear from you? We also welcome my good friend, Vice Chair Kasura. Magandang umaga po. And of course, Commissioner Mangiente, or Mangiente ba? Mangente. Pilipino nga pala. Sige. May we hear from Napolcom, kung meron tayong possible resolution, how do we possibly resolve this issue? There are no equivalent ranks, and this will be affected by the newly passed measure, yung Joint Circular number 1, na increasing the pay and salaries of AFP and PNP personnel. Sabi ko sa inyo, hindi ganun kasimple. Kung intent and purpose lang, kung confuse lang, na baka lalo tayo ma-confuse dito, ha? Yes, from the ILG, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir. From the presentation, sir, that we have a fire Chief Master Sergeant, and Senior Master Sergeant. In the PNP positions, we have the Sergeant Major, who is in charge of the whole PNP. That could be the first Chief Master Sergeant. And then we have the regional and CESPO, meron tayong CESPO, sir. So that could be the equivalent, sir, as well as the different NSUs. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
The provincial or district.
Catch up pa natin?
Yes.
At least na-approximate pa natin?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Sige.
Sir, if I may.
PCDS, yeah.
The intention actually of the PNP is actually to change only the rank classification so that it would be interoperable with the AFP. When it comes to Chief Master Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant, and First Chief Master Sergeant, as explained to you, these are actually the CESPOS, RESPOS, the city or provincial, the regional ESPOS, and the Sergeant Major in the PNP. With regard to their pay and allowances, sir, it's the same as to the rank of Master Sergeant. The only thing is there are some benefits that are being given to them as higher than the as to their position. The position of the rank of Senior Master Sergeant, Chief Master Sergeant, and First Chief Master Sergeant has the equivalent of TO position in the PNP, which are actually in charge. These are actually what you call the officers of the PNCOs in the PNP. Yan, sir, yung kwan. But we did not jack up or increase their pay and allowances.
So they will remain to sa level, salary level.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But may mga bungi nga eh, oh. Tingnan nyo.
Sir.
Mr. Can you contribute? Kasi
Milo, so what you're telling your committee is that these are positions, not ranks. Okay. So yung benefits does not accrue to the standardization of the base pay. Okay. And, I suggest, as the chair suggested, we process this properly, no? Because there are legal implications. Even if we succeed in passing this, no, and the chair defends this in plenary, there might be a legal or constitutional backlash. Yun lang ang sinasabi natin, no? Because we had a difficult time defending the indexation, no? Yung sinabi ni Presidente, because of the demand from other sectors. It will cut across the board. Hindi lang sa, yung sinasabi ni Chair kanina, na hindi lang, it will not impact only on the police and the AFP, but teachers, nurses. No? So, let's just be, my suggestion, our suggestion is for us to be precise in this regard.
We'll do that, sir.
For example, how will you classify yung corporal will remain to be the equivalent of staff sergeant, no? Sa ngayon, yung police officer 3, yun ang equivalent ng police ng staff sergeant sa AFP. Ang sweldo niya is 32,144, yun ang base pay. So under your proposal, corporal yon. So saan mo siya ilalagay? Do sa sergeant o sa technical sergeant? He will remain to be the equivalent of the staff sergeant with the base pay of 32,114. Ganun ba proposal ninyo?
Sir, may we huddle for a minute, sir?
Sige.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The hearing is suspended.
Thank you, sir.
Gusto niyo, i-amend na natin yung kaya nga, nung pinasa nyo ito sa House, wala pa yung joint resolution? Yes, sir. Yun nga eh. Kaya nga nagkaroon distortion kasi naipasa, na-overtaken nung passage ng joint resolution number 1. Which is, I believe, more important to you.
If we may...
Will we resume the hearing?
Yes,
The hearing is resumed.
Sir, if I may, while we are discussing actually, may we just give an initial comment, because the private supposed to be in the DND is equivalent to the PO1 in the PNP, and supposed to be the private first class to PO2, the corporal PO3. The sergeant in the PNP is actually the SPO1. Going up, staff sergeant is SPO2, technical sergeant is SPO3, master sergeant is SPO4. For the senior master and chief master sergeants, these are positions of higher grade, but the same allowance and benefits with the SPO4. What we were just asking was the rank classification. We will be evaluating with regard to the monthly base pay, because the monthly base pay, sir, was included here then. So the request, actually the thing that the PNP only wants is actually the rank classification, sir. We will evaluate this monthly base pay.
That is correct. But
Yes, sir.
may impact na because may effect ng law yung Joint Circular number 1. And then, paano mo ngayon susweldohan yung corporal? Paano mo isusweldohan yung patrolman first class? No? And so forth and so on. Saan mo sila dadalhin? Paakyat, pababa. And necessarily, you may have to amend Joint Circular number 1. Yun ang dapat nating i-resolve dito. And I assume na mas gusto nyong i-adjust na lang yung rank classification to conform with the monthly base pay as contained do sa Joint Circular number 1, di ba? Hindi yung Joint Circular number 1 mag-a-adjust do sa rank classification. It should be the other way around. But we have to resolve that.
The PNP, sir, follows the salary grade in the civil service. At the same time, the PNP, sir, is civilian in nature. That's why we come up with the salary grades. We believe, sir, that in the AFP, it has a different salary grade as in the civilian sector. We will study that, sir. We are already looking after it.
DOJ, anong effect nito? May epekto sa ma-amend eh. It's either mag-adjust tayo ng rango to conform, but again, dahil batas na yung, say, patrolman will be receiving starting January 29,668, patrolman first, mabubungi yung iba. So, saan mo ipapasok yon? To comply with Joint Circular Number 1, with the provisions of Joint Circular Number 1. Ang suggestion dito is i-rename nyo na lang yung, ibahin nyo yung nomenclature ng rango. Pwede nyo tanggalin yung patrolman first class, mag-create kayong equivalent. Di ba? Police corporal. May corporal din sa AFP. Police sergeant, police staff sergeant. Would you like to do that? Kasi may mga equivalent lahat yan eh.
We will, sir. We will evaluate again, sir.
Kasi take advantage na rin natin because we're dealing with rank classification. That's what we are amending. No? We shouldn't touch anymore yung naipasang Joint Circular Number 1. Mas madugo yun eh. Nahirapan nga si Senator Greg ano yan. How many hours, Mr. Did you defend this on the floor?
Many painful hours. My Lord, so tinanong ko kanina kung ito ay rango ay position. Sa AFP, if I recall correctly, no, klaro yung trajectory, upward, yung career pattern. No? Okay, I suppose sa PNP medyo iba. Okay, suppose ma-reassign. Ano ang impact nun sa, yes?
Mr. Chair, it's actually the same, sir. The trajectory of the PNP organizational structure is also going up. At the same time, if they will be transferred to other areas, they should be occupying the position equivalent to the ranks.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Or higher.
So walang downward trajectory.
None, sir.
Puro paakyat.
Yes, sir.
Unless
Yes, sir.
for course.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
As an aside, related din to, meron ba kayo sinusunod din na time in grade
Yeah.
for promotion to a higher rank, to a particular higher rank? Say AFP, klaro eh. Yung teniente, after 3 years, magiging first lieutenant, di ba? Another 3 years, maging captain. Another 4 years, maging major. Sa PNP, meron din maganon.
Yes,
Yung
sir.
regular promotion.
Yes, Your Honor. So may I give our Director of DP, General.
Sir, for promotion, we have time and grade requirements. In addition to the other QS, qualification standards, yung education, training, and eligibility. So, yun palagi, sir, ang tinitingnan namin yung apat na qualification
Say,
standards.
how many years would it take an inspector to be promoted to senior inspector? Yung regular, Di
3
ba
years,
mas
sir.
promotion ito? Because of time in grade?
3 years, sir. 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years,
Yes, sir.
pareho rin.
Yes, sir.
And then senior inspector to chief inspector,
3 years lahat
3
yun, sir,
years
hanggang chief inspector.
how about yung sa PNCOs? Yung PO1 to PO2? May automatic promotion din?
Wala, sir, automatic promotion.
So how do you determine?
Depende, sir, sa vacancies na per unit, per region.
Vacancy.
Yes,
Pati
sir.
sa PCOs, di ba, may mga vacancy rin kayong sinusunod. You cannot be promoted to chief soup unless there's a vacancy. Because of the DBM requirement, di ba? Do sa PS. Okay. Vice Chair, can you help us out?
Mr. Chair, our position has been submitted already to the committee, and I think I have been reading House Bill number 5236, the Senate Bill number 1869, introduced by the Honorable Chair, as well as Senate Bill 1875 by the Honorable Senator Grace Poe. Our position paper is actually a full embrace of the pending Senate bills as well as the House bills, Your Honor. Our position is very simple. If there is a need to transpose the present ranking system at the PNP to be familiar or at least similar to that of the EFP, I think the presentation of the bills are very clear already. What we do not understand now is the literal transposition of the DND ranking to the PNP. Because from the Director General down to the PO1, I think there is an equivalent rank already with the AFP. Because what I feel is, the issue here is there a violation of the civilian character of the PNP just because we are adopting the AFP system of ranking? The only thing is, it's preceded by the word police. I think that has been very simplified already by both the Senate bills, so that the other ramifications, like the other ranks under the DNP, which finds no exact equivalent to the PNP, has not been part of the issue when this thing was submitted to us for our position, Mr. Chair. But as it is now, it's very clear to us that both the Senate bills and the House bills are very much already consistent with what is existing now with the PNP.
May mga ranggo po na wala equivalent. For example, may second lieutenant sa AFP, wala namang second and first lieutenant. There's only one lieutenant in the PNP. And then, yun, kung bibilangin po natin lahat yung ranggo sa DND at sa PNP, hindi magtutugma eh. Kaya may impact ito doon sa Joint Circular number 1. Kasi kung sa Joint Circular number 1, specific na yung patrolman, tatanggap ng 29,668, saan natin siya ilalagay? Sa private first class? O yung corporal halimbawa, equivalent na police officer 2 in pay? Saan natin siya ngayon ikakategorize pagdating din sa proposed measure to conform with the pay scale?
My thinking, Mr. Chair, is if this law, if this amendment is finally passed into law, will it not prevail upon the joint circular?
DOJ, hear your view? Parang amendatory. Effectively, this will amend Joint Circular number 1?
Mr. Chair, I think we need the opinion also of the DBM because there's no problem about the ranking classification, but then I think the issue now is the salary also. So we need the opinion of the DBM also.
The issue is on the salary to conform with the proposed rank classification. Diba? Yun ang naging problema. Yes, the ILG.
Thank you, sir. I go with the position of the Vice Chair that we really need to classify rank versus position. Now, regarding this pending bill, I think we have to retain the rank as recommended. Police private first class, but then it would be hard for the PNP to create another set of ranks. But instead, probably, we can just create positions that would call for those salaries, such that there could be a police officer or private police private A, for example, but with another position or other function.
So we'll just leave it at that, ano? Kung wala rin talaga equivalent yung private first class, iwanan na lang ng blanco 'yon. That's what you're suggesting, as suggested by Vice Chair Kasurao. So let's not disturb anymore the not necessarily a rank.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
my thinking also is, if we keep on following the steps of the AFP and the DND in terms of rank, as we are attempting to do it now, it could be an endless activity for us, because every time there are changes in the AFP, we have to adjust accordingly. So it becomes now a joint activity always between the AFP and the PNP, only insofar as ranking is concerned. So I think the amendments proposed by both Senate bills are very clear already, that in terms of salaries, it has been established already that the salaries for this particular rank is there. The only purpose why the PNP is asking for the transposition of this rank is, as earlier said, to avoid confusion, to immediately establish the similarities in ranks whenever there are conferences, whenever there are gatherings. I think this is aptly and substantially answered already by the proposed Senate bills, which is very clear already about the issue of using military ranks.
Senator Lacson.
Vice Chair Kasurao, no? You're conferring with the chairman. Ang problema ho natin, I'm trying to reduce this to terms you can understand. No? We are not basing our rank classifications purely on the AFP. Okay. Ang problema lang natin is, may mga butal. So pag may butal, anong sweldo ang ibibigay natin doon sa non-existent na ranggo? Now, I was thinking, Mr. Chair, no? Maybe you can start this, Milo, no? Kung pinapactor pa rin ninyo yung time and grade, ang pag-uusapan lang natin dito, no? By some mechanism is, kung yung sweldong ibibigay ay doon sa mas mababa o doon sa mas mataas. And I think there are precise variables that will allow us to decide on that. Now, procedurally, without impacting on Joint Resolution number 1, sasabihin lang natin categorically. Dahil kulang ka sa time and grade, ang sweldo mo dun sa mas mababa. Let's say, private first class, patrolman. Kung mas mataas, sufficient yung time and grade and other variables, no? Then we can move to patrolman first class. Dahil may butal eh. That's one approach. But, Mr. Chair, I suggest that we process this because of the implications nga, as the chair said at the start of the hearing. It's not a cut and dried issue. No.
At the same time, Your Honor, the same time the equivalent of the rank classification to the AFP actually differs here already in Joint Resolution number 1. Say, for example, from Senior Police Officer 1, this should be equivalent to Staff Sergeant. That's what we're saying right now, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may, no? If you look at the explanatory note of 1869, no? Proposed Senate Bill 1869,
Yes, sir.
authored by the chairman, promote interoperability.
Yes, sir.
Di ba? For ISO, counterterrorism, etc. Nothing to do whatsoever on how the AFP conducts its affairs.
Yes, sir.
Interoperability.
Yes,
In
sir.
fact, I was making some notes. ang operational readiness ng AFP is move, communicate, and shoot.
Yes, sir.
Sa PNP, move, communicate, shoot,
Shoot.
and investigate.
Yes, sir.
Does it enhance that, this operational readiness criteria? It's written in the explanatory note, no? So it's not, I would like to add value to what has been inputted already by Vice Chair Kasurao, no? Hindi tayo sumusunod sa kumpas ng AFP. What we're trying to enhance is interoperability. And then enhance operational readiness. Kayo may dagdag eh. Investigate. Di ba? Move, communicate, shoot, and investigate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, para ma-abbreviate na rin yung proceedings natin this morning, kasi if we keep on discussing this, no, we might be able to reach the buttocks of Jennifer Lopez. So mas magandang iwanan na muna natin, then i-process nyo and submit your position paper, maybe, and then we conduct our TWG. So maipasa na rin namin ito, and I can make a committee report taking into consideration your input, additional input, kung ano yung impact nito sa... But I see the point of Vice Chair Kasurao na wag nang pakialaman yung salary sa Joint Circular number 1. May mga equivalent naman talaga. So, okay with that. Yes,
Mr. Chair,
Senator.
let me add, ito request. I don't know, Vice Chair Kasurao, no, or Milo, maybe as you make your submissions, no? Can you educate the committee? Hindi lang kasi kami ni Chairman ang membro, no? We will have to educate the entire chamber, especially if you want to proactively prepare for the plenary defense of this measure, no? Can you educate your committee, for the education of the other senators also, of the history? Why we started classifying this? Yeah. How did you come up with SPO? Of course, it's 6975, ano? Dahil paulit-ulit, lagi natin nakita, national in scope, civilian in character, which is what I wanted to ask Vice Chair Kasurao. Have we fully implemented 6975 in its true spirit? That's only the tip of the iceberg. Meron pang isa, chairman of the NAPOLCOM and SILG, one person wearing two hats. This has been a recurring issue. Pag inutusan ng SILG yung regional commander, obligado bang sumunod without passing to the chief PNP? I mean, technically, operational control and administrative supervision. So these are the factors that have to be inputted if you want to make a comprehensive submission. Para, alam nyo naman, di ba? Pag plenary na,
We will do that, sir. Actually, we have a briefing right now, sir, but I think those things are not included in our briefing. But we will give you the history of the Philippine National Police until...
Of course, tayo-tayo lang naman dito. In fact, if you look back, and it's also partially my fault, bakit hiniwalay yung PCINP sa AFP? Dahil ang recruitment for the coup d'etats noon was mainstream. O kailangan ng sariling army nung, di ba? But that's that's behind us now. We're looking forward, moving forward. Okay, so,
Levity aside, Your Honor, ang talagang parang primary purpose nito to avoid confusion. Kasi after all, I'll share this experience. When I was Chief PNP, nobody called me Director General eh. General talaga tawag eh. And then nobody calls a Senior Superintendent Colonel. And nobody calls him Senior Superintendent Colonel. So may confusion. And then yung interoperability aspect, pagka you're talking with your counterparts, confused din yung counterparts nyo kung sino yung ka-level niya. Di ba? Pag sinabing si Director, hindi naman lalam na 2-star yun eh. So, and after 28 years, ganyan pa rin. Hindi na nagbago. And I could hear radio interviews, no, with of course, with your colleagues. Ganun din ang tawag eh, na mga nag-interview. Sabi na, Colonel, ganun din eh. So, all the more confusing. So, I agree with you. Total, wala namang constitutional, walang negative view, as regards sa constitutional provision. Yeah. So, sige. So,
Mr. Chair,
sige.
kumpletuhin na natin, no? Sa EFP, pag, di ba, pag enlisted man, automatic yan, Sarge. Di ba? Pag Colonel, General. Sa police, in case of doubt, tawagin mong chief o bossing. Di ba? Walang sabla yun, di ba? SPO, mahirap. Many syllables. Bossing.
Actually, sir, we also have a lot of experiences with regard to that. Even the regional director is compared to directors in the NHQ. They think that regional directors are the same as the directors in the directorial staff. Anyway, sir, we will submit as soon as possible our evaluation comment and with the briefing on the history of the Philippine National Police.
So, we may not need to call for DBM's opinion anymore kasi wala namang impact doon sa mga salary. Anyway, so, sige.
Mr. Chair, but, well, I'm not second guessing the chair, no? It's his call, no? Pero maganda pa rin, nakausapin yung DBM. Para kumpleto rekado kayo, pag submit niyo with or without DBM, it includes inputs from the DBM because of the fiscal implications.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Vice Chair.
thank you. Just a heads up, I think if we're talking here of the ranking system already, there is a momentum now gaining in the lower house about reducing the educational requirement of policemen. From being bachelor's degree holder, they are now moving for a possible lowering of the educational requirement to 72 units college, which means we'll
It's
be
equivalent to 2 years.
2 years, K to 12 actually, that's K to 12. And then, to me, it's going to create another layer of policemen, lower than a PO1. Because the PO1s now are degree holders, they remain in their ranks, so another layer with composed of 72 units college students who can already join the police service, and they will be assigned to, I think, to the maneuver battalions. So there will be another adjustment of ranks here. And another latest incident is the upgrading of the ranks of certain officials in the PNP, like the CIDG being recommended to be upgraded to a 3-star rank, the Highway Patrol Group, and the regional directors. These are things that are still in the open, which again might have an impact on our efforts now to transpose the ranks from the PNP to that of the AFP.
That's incorporated in a separate measure, yung PNP reorganization. Mukhang kasama na doon. Ang problema ko lang, yung PO1 na degree holder, nagbebenta pa ng shabu, pag binawasan natin ng 2 years college, baka 1 kilo na ibenta niya. That's my problem.
I'm sorry to beat this issue na. Actually, Vice Chair Kasurao, importante yung point nyo, no? Yung educational attainment. Now, this idea is not original. I got this from the chair. The direction, according to him, should be e-government. Pag educational attainment na pinag-uusapan, this might be a remote issue, but to me, it's germane to the issue, no? Nakikita ninyo ngayon, no? Public attention is focused on the police. Yung ini-inspect ni Oka na patulog-tulog sa presinto. Kung nag-home study yun, because e-government will imply that classrooms will be obsolete one of these days. Abay, kung nag-aaral na lang, alerto pa, gising pa, na-upgrade yung educational attainment. That might cut across the standards for the PNP. Baka pwede ho ninyong pag-isipan prospectively para we'll be in the same page with our chairman. Pag-aralan niyo, it will connect everything. Of course, technology is making patience obsolete. Diba? Like falling in love, making ligaw, you do not delete and send and copy-paste. But that's another issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So can you submit your position papers maybe within 1 week, no? Para we can accelerate this. So before we go on break, possibly, I mean, the Senate, or Congress, maybe we can already pass this on third reading. Kasi to tell you honestly, binili ni Presidente ito na dalawa yun eh, rank classification at saka yung transfer ng training. Dalawa yung binili niya na kung pwedeng ipasa. No? Nagkataon lang sa House na ipasa na yung rank classification, dito wala pa. Sa Senate naman, na ipasa na namin yung transfer, sa House wala pa. But we're coordinating closely with Congressman Acop, who incidentally, dati rin PNP, and he was my comptroller when I was chief. So, madali lang yung coordination. So, with that, we terminate this hearing and we'll just await the submission.
On the 13th of September, sir. On or before
Within
the
the
13th,
week,
sir. Yes, sir. Ah, within this week, sir.
No, not this week, kasi
Next week, sir.
Miyerkules na eh.
Yes, sir. On or before the 13th
1
of
week,
September,
yeah,
sir.
starting Monday, yung 1 week na yon.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
We will, sir.
So,
Thank you, sir.
maraming salamat sa inyo lahat and have a good day.